Greetings, this is the Grumpy Old Slan playing Le Château des sortilèges, the very first French role-playing game, published in the 4th issue of Jeux et Stratégie. So in our last session, the party was in front of the secret door to the treasure room of the castle. However, their thief had been killed, and so they could not crack the door open, and now they need to retreat back to the village, maybe in the hopes of recruiting another thief. So let us go for it. The first thing they're going to do is try to get their way out of the castle as quickly as they can. Entering a new room, they need to roll to see what happens. And they need to roll on the encounters tables for triangle. And on a 5, we need to pull 1 token out of the bowl. We get a goblin. Goblin has 2 hit points. We'll do 1 to 3 plus 1 points of damage. Has a movement rate of 1 and an armor class of 3. And the 2 leading characters, the fighter and the magic user, will attack it. So I'll use the blue dice for the fighter and the orange one for the magic user. The fighter misses, but the magic user will hit. And with his dagger, will do 2 points of damage, which is enough to dispatch the goblin. And the retreat from the castle will continue. Again, new room. On a 6, a trap is triggered. So we will roll on the traps table to determine what's happening. On a 6, it's an explosive trap, and not just the leading character, but all characters take 1d6 points of damage. So let's roll. And that's 2 points of damage that every character takes. Luckily, our magic user has a magic necklace that will reduce his damage by 1. Otherwise, he wouldn't have survived this encounter. Now the party has a choice. They can either maybe have the cleric attempt to cast a healing spell, which might be advisable, that none of them are at max hit points, and they still need to travel quite a ways back to the village. So we will do this. To cast a healing spell, the cleric needs to roll a 5 or a 6. Rolling a 6, the healing spell works. We roll a d6 to determine 2 hit points are healed. Now the first recipient of the healing spell is always the cleric, so his hit points will go up, but the other characters will keep their current hit point scores. Because another turn was used in the castle, we again need to roll to see what happens. On a 1, we need to roll on the triangular encounter table. And on a 3, nothing happens. And I will have the party continue in the hopes of making it out of the castle before anything untowards happened to them. Entering another room, they need to roll on the triangle encounter table. And on a 5, I have to pick 1 token out of the bowl, and it has to be a monster. So if I was to pick a treasure, I would need to put it back in and pick another token. And it is an orc. So the fighter and the magic user will attack. Again, the fighter will miss, but the magic user will hit, causing only 1 point of damage, so the orc is down to 2. The orc will fight back, attacking the leading character, who's the fighter, but will miss. And now the cleric will attack. Rolling a 5, he hits, causing 5 points of damage, which is more than enough to kill the orc. And the party can continue. Again, we have to roll. On a 4, we need to roll on the square encounter table. And on a 2, nothing happens. We continue. Again, we roll. On a 3, we roll on the triangular encounter table. And on a 1, nothing happens. They now exit the castle. They need to roll on the square encounter table. I have to pick 3 tokens out of the bowl. They could be anything. So they are, here we go, wait. A phantom, an orc, and a centaur. Ooh, I forgot to put that orc back. Now the phantom has 4 hit points, will do 1 to 3 plus 1 points of damage, has a movement rate of 1 and an armor class of 5, and it can only be hit by magic weapons. The orc is a regular orc, 3 hit points, 1 to 6 points of damage, movement rate of 1, and an armor class of 3. The centaur has 6 hit points. It has 2 attacks. The first one does 1 to 6 points of damage, and the second one does 1 to 3. It has a movement rate of 2 and an armor class of 3. Now, what my characters will attempt to do is flee. A reminder for the fleeing mechanics, I need to roll a d3, which determines how fast I'm running. And if it is equal to or higher than the monster's movement rate, I escape. And I roll a 2. That means I managed to escape. I now need to determine where I have moved to, which will be away from the castle. I'm here. I landed on a square, so I must roll for the square on the square encounter table. I rolled a 3, so nothing happens. And I will keep heading back towards the village. Landing on a triangle, I need to roll on that encounter table. On a 6, I need to pull 2 tokens out of the bowl, one of which must be a monster, but the other one can be anything, including treasure. And, ooh, it is the ghost and a chimera. So clearly that ghost was stalking the party and is getting a hand from another monster. Now the chimera has 6 hit points. It has 2 attacks, each one of which will do 1 to 3 points of damage. It has a movement rate of 2 and an armor class of 4. And again, I think my party will elect to flee and try to get to the safety of the village as quickly as possible. Rolling a 3, that means they escape both monsters, and they will land on a circle, which means they are safe. They will then move, landing on another circle. And again, they had an encounter here on the way out, so they will just avoid that spot. And move again. And again. Towards until they reach the village. Like so. At this point, they might elect to be satisfied with the treasure they have found. They might decide to recruit a new thief and re-enter the castle. As a solo player, I've now explored a little bit how the mechanics of the game work. Maybe I feel up to running my own adventure with a few fellow players and being the GM and having each player run one character like a regular role-playing game. So this has been an interesting experiment, I feel. It was kind of fun to play this. You could really see how the designers of this game wanted to ease a group of people who they knew were used to role-playing games into RPGs. I mean, those tokens look so much like your typical war game token. But it is, I feel, a good introduction within 7 or 8 pages of rules plus this one map. So I think it was a good effort. I think they were right to say that it is not fully an RPG and it is neither a war game, but is sort of a mix of both. If you enjoy this game, you might feel that, yeah, maybe I should get D&D and play it, or maybe I should get one of the other RPGs that might be available, even though they're not available in French yet. It wouldn't take long, just a few more years before the first French version of D&D would come out and would prove quite popular. This has been the Grumpy Old Slan, playing Le Château des Sortilèges, and I'll see you next time.